to the original structure. I'm assuming that would be very similar up in your locations as well. So they have adjustment could be applied by using a blue book. Well, blue book is very similar to like the car blue book, Kelly blue book. That's what they refer to it. But this is where they will give you actual costs for manufactured homes or mobile homes in here. And then you can put depreciation to it based on its effective age and its remaining economic life left. And then if it produces income, you can also consider the income approach for contributory value. So let's look at this. So we found a small ranch house on an acre without an additional manufactured home. Add the contributory value of the manufactured home and the site improvements that serve. So we have the house in the site from paired data, 100 grand. Manufactured home from the book value, 10 grand. And then we have the manufactured home site improvements for 2 grand for a total of $112,000. Everybody follow that? Pretty easy, right? Self-explanatory. All right. So now let's look at this case study here. Anybody have any questions? This place is in Florida, prone to hurricanes and some flooding. Although not on waterfront, the property's on a marsh, overlooks a marsh. It's a regular lot, rectangular lot, 17,500 square foot in a subdivision. It's improved with a European style contemporary 2-story home with an expanded attic area and partial basement. And I just want to let you know that this picture of this house, this is very typical. If for those of you who may not have ever been to Florida, this is very typical of a lot of area homes by waterfront, these 2-story homes. A lot of them, the bigger the house is, they turn them into VBRO, vacation by rental owners in there. So a lot of them are rented out because they're large, 4,691 square feet. A lot of homes in Florida do not have basements. This one happens to. It's a partial basement. It's 6 foot above grade. Basement has an additional 705 square feet. Also has this huge in-ground pool, which is very large. It's got a lanai outside on here. And it's got its upper bedroom. And this is why these are very good for vacation rental homes. I mean, look at, you got bedroom, and all the private bathrooms involved in it. And you got a couple balconies for entertaining. The basement has the pool window, which is kind of atypical. Normally you don't see this. Good foundation. Good 1 foot thick. Got a moisture barrier with a tar. Almost everything is synthetic stucco-like in Florida. You rarely see anything without it. It used to be Drive It, but then they were having issues with Drive It containing mold. So there was a lot of big lawsuits in there because of the high humidity factor in Florida. Windows are high impact, double insulated. States can withstand winds of 300 miles an hour. It has automatic shutters. A lot of the bigger houses have those shutters. Individually zoned. Roofing's clay tile. And they like putting the clay tile because they can put additional straps to keep the, and it's heavier to keep the roofs intact for higher hurricane winds. It's got a custom kitchen, commercial equipment, half bath, family room, fireplace, main entry door, steel frame, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Window, wet bar that's in the process of being completed. Marble overlay stairs, which makes them slippery. 4 good sized bedrooms, 3 full baths. Again, staircase again has a marble overlay, reinforced concrete, and kind of standard wood laminate, hardwood, carpet, some ceramic marble. High grade finishes, attractive. That's all on the inside. We get a good picture. We have a good visual of this property so far, right? Exterior, we have an in-ground pool with a 28 by 10 area for 1240 square foot, 76,000 gallons with a bridge over it. You don't see the bridge over it. Underground heat and infiltration are not visible. It has screened windows for an enclosure. That's required everywhere in Florida. And the screening hasn't been completed. A lanai with a kitchen. Lanai and pool area, accessible through the garage. 2-car garage, control panels, and balcony with views of the canal and the marsh. A seawall, retaining wall, which is very important for these type of properties, and an irrigation walkway and a golf putting green. So this kind of goes back to the example that the subdivision, you're doing the appraisal and you're the appraiser, hoping you have the 1-story homes, but you get this big 2-story house on here. And you look at records from the area, and you see that most homes are not, much smaller range, and they have a 100,000 to 955 range, and they average from good. And a lot of homes have pools and other amenities have similar to the subject. This one you gotta love. I'm sure that many of you have gone out and to do a new construction appraisal or a home that's recently built, and owner provides you and says, "Hey, I paid $2.8 million to build it," and you look, and you're like, you got comps for like 1.4. You can't even come close to that. And so right away, there's a lot of things going off in your head. All right, B, if this is proposed construction, I need to go through and analyze out the contractor or the builder's estimate of prices. And I tell my appraisers all the time, I says, you have to look at that. You can't just take the plans and specs and put them in your report and not talk about it or analyze that. I says, you have to analyze that. What happens a lot of times is you have hard costs, you have soft costs. And a lot of times that 2.8 up there million that the owner's telling you, that includes his hard and soft costs. Your soft costs, not all of them are going to be recouped by the market. You have architect's fees on there. You may have building permits. You may have city fees, tap-in fees to the water and sewer line. You may have excavation in order to pour the foundation. You may have that bulkhead for protecting it from the marsh along the water. All of these things in here and then the big one I love seeing is at the very end of the estimate, the builders is going to put in there builder's profit and overhead, $150,000 or $250,000. And then there's always something else in there called the contingency reserve fund. That's for overages. That's for extra stuff that they forgot to add or they forgot to include. And so all that adds up to $2.8 million. Now let me take it one step further. The importance of analyzing this information is now you look at it and it says window treatments, $120,000. Are you kidding me? $120,000. Kitchen appliances, $120,000. All multiple generators, whatever. So you gotta look at it and see what's realistic, what isn't realistic. And so, I was saying, okay, the guy says 2.8, and I was kind of joking. I says, yeah, it's probably 1.4 because they add all this other stuff in there that is a result of functional obsolescence as a super adequacy or over improvement, higher than normal contractor estimates, overpaying, and creating wish list items that aren't typically recognized by the market on there. So in this case, they isolate the cost down to about 200 grand. And remember, this doesn't include the land. So in this case, the owner gave him an appraisal from a cost approach from another appraisal for 2.4. And it says that appraiser didn't apply any depreciation. Well, maybe, does it say how old this place was? How old was this home? Let's say. I think I can find it quicker in the book here. I'm just curious. That's why I'm looking here. The number, it doesn't say when it was. It didn't say when it was built, so I really can't discredit or opine on this particular factor here regarding that. So what are some possible red flags? So we see it's at the top end for the area, maybe overkill for construction. The windows and shutters may be an over improvement. I can tell you that that's probably not the case. Appliances are exceeding that, and other stuff recognized by the market. That was kind of what I was just talking about. Yeah, the basement is kind of something extra that you normally don't see. And that's primarily because of the flooding issue, being by water. The pool from the window, this floating slab, unfinished areas. Urinals and bidets are unusual and has each of the full baths. Yeah, I mean, rarely do you ever see urinals in a bathroom, but I've seen them occasionally. Contributory value of the balconies and the putting green. So let's walk through this one. We got 4691 square foot, and when we go into our cost manual, we're at $182.61 65 cents. Basement 705 by 6288, again from our cost manual. Our garage, same thing. And for a total replacement cost new of $927, $390. I do want to make just a general comment here, that I don't know about you, just to get a 20 by 20 square foot 2-car detached garage built here in our area, we're at almost $30,000 for a 20 by 22, 20 by 20 garage. I mean, you used to be able to get that for $5,000-6,000 10 years ago. $30,000, ridiculous. So that's 440 square foot. So I'm looking at this 3832 saying, I think that's a little low, but that's just me. The Depreciation, it doesn't really say where the depreciations come from. I'm sure we'll see that somewhere, because I didn't see him give us effective age. My God, it took it, but we'll see. External, 185,000 at 20%. So I want to see where they got that from. So I had a question when I did this case study. I asked, and I'm like, well, where's all the rest of the stuff? I got 927,390 up here. Where's the pool? Where's the putting green? Where's all the balconies? Where's the lanai? Where's all that stuff? And I asked, and it's apparently they lump it all down here as other site improvements. I'm just going to give you my opinion on this. I'm of the opinion that if you do it this way, it's difficult to isolate out functional obsolescence as an over improvement. I would prefer to see up here on top, after the basement, or somewhere up here, I would put in-ground pool. I'd put lanai. I would put all the goofy extra things that it has in here, and do the replacement cost new. And let's say that comes to $300,000. At the end of the day, when I'm doing my sales comparison approach, and I can only extract out through paired data a contributory value for that pool and the lanai and everything of $80,000. All right. That other $220,000, that's coming up in my functional obsolescence as an over improvement amount. And this is how I have our appraisers explain this. And it's the same thing regarding a coach house, tennis courts, a basketball court, a horse riding arena, anything that is in addition to the house. It's hard to determine a functional obsolescence amount if you can't see it up here in the replacement cost new, and then you subtract out your paired sale data. Anyway, that's me. I don't remember how this example goes all the way, but we'll see. But it came up with 1,419,000 here. So now I'm looking at, oh, here we go. Let's look at 55, page 55, the last page for this case study. So good. I'm glad. Screen in-ground swimming pool, $131,000. That makes sense for that size pool. The bulkhead, $39,900. That makes sense for that. The drives. See now, like here, concrete walk and drives. See, I would keep that, the irrigation system. So I would take the swimming pool for 131, the fountains at $25,000, and I would probably break those out separately, or at least the pool by itself, so I can determine the functional obsolescence over improvement. You could keep the seawall, the walks, the irrigation, the fountains, and the putting green, depending on what type it is, and keep that in the other site improvement total. Summer kitchen and balconies, 39, site value, physical, 2% estimated. Okay, that's where we got the 2% from. And in analyzing sold and active properties, the estimate for external obsolescence is 20%. They never say what that is for. I would assume that they're probably saying that, because of the principle of regression, unless, yeah, it doesn't say anything else about location on there. But I think that makes the most, makes the most sense on that. All right, then we had the quiz. Any questions on case study 3?
Yes, I have one.
Okay,
I have a couple. Tom.
great.
Why do we not depreciate? Because why do we not depreciate the garage and the basement? Like, why are we like, okay, the dwelling, the basement, and the garage, okay, we are depreciating. Okay, yes,
They are.
that's right. I see now. They are depreciated. The other site improvements, why are they not depreciated? Why are we not applying any
Well,
physical or
my
external?
Yeah, my first observation is because they're isolating them out separate, kind of like in a unit in place thought process under other site improvements at 280,813. That's why I said that, that in-ground pool has definitely, should be depreciated as well as the garage and everything. But it's hard. And see, they did not do the irrigation, fountains, putting green, concrete walks, and everything, and that's why they just lumped them on the bottom there. But doesn't
Unless they're brand new.
Yeah,
but they don't say that they're brand new.
No, they don't. They did say up here on reproduction costs, they did say reproduction. I saw reproduction costs here somewhere.
Well, at the bottom of the all the data there, it says other site improvements are based on reproduction cost.
Oh, yeah, there you go. So that would be why, if they're doing reproduction cost, then that's the cost on there. But I think we did that case study earlier. Remember when we showed the cost of the electric, the cost of the well and septic, and we gave the effective age with the remaining economic life, and we did depreciate those site improvements and came up with
Sure.
we did do that. You can certainly do that. I think they're just showing you for this illustration because they were all reproduction costs, because they just lumped them in down there. But like I said, I personally would have broken out the swimming pool separately.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would depreciate a lot of those things too. So
right. And did you have a question on it?
No, that's it. That's pretty much it, because when I did the numbers there, I came up with a different cost. That's why I depreciated the other site improvements also. So my cost was lower than what the answer was there.
So keep in mind, if you find something similar on your exam, you have to do it the way the exam is worded and not the way that we would do it, or that you may do it differently, like by depreciating those site improvements. Okay. All right. All right. Chapter 3. Anybody have any questions on the chapter 3 quiz?
Sorry, I have a question about the chapter 2 quiz, actually. Depreciation does not need to be factored into when considering a barn, driveway, house, or pond. In the book, it actually says that the pond is depreciating.
No, I could have swore in the book it said ponds do not depreciate, but it did say. Yeah, let me do a search and find pond.
Thought that I saw in there that it did, and there was a whole thing on how to actually do the depreciation of a pond.
Well, it showed the depreciation of the pond based off of because it was not being maintained. It needed some
Oh,
work. It needed some work. So I think you're confusing the work that was required on the pond versus depreciating the pond. Make sense?
Yep, absolutely. You are completely right. I'm just trying to find it here. I just know because that's the one question that stuck out for me that I had a hard time trying to find. Because I'm like, everything else depreciates, the driveway depreciates with the house. So I mean,
Yeah.
I could not find it.
All right, let me see. Is anybody from Scenaria on right now?
Hi, Tom.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm on. Oh,
Hi, guys, it's 1 o'clock. Are we doing any break for lunch or we just keep going?
I would recommend giving everyone a half an hour break.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I didn't want to be the evil instructor here saying no food for you.
No, I would recommend giving everyone an opportunity for a breather.
All right, so it's 2 o'clock your guys' time, I think. 1 o'clock my time. See y'all back in a half an hour. That work for everybody?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, thanks.
Craig or Shayla. I didn't know this was like an all-day thing. I thought it was just a pop-in thing.
No, the notification said this is not a pop-in thing.
Okay.
That you can't just drop in and out when you need. But
Okay.
you're not obligated to be here. So if you can only be here for part of the day, that's fine too.
I
We're going
know.
to be recording the sessions
Okay.
and making it available in case you're not able to see all or
Okay.
part of a session.
Perfect. Because I can be available a little bit tomorrow and today. So I can stay in for the rest of the day, but can I pop back in tomorrow too?
You're welcome to join tomorrow. It'll be the exact same thing. So yeah, no
Cheryl,
worries.
does that mean that you're going to want to do the final exam tomorrow rather than today? Because I have you set up for today.
Yeah, I'll do it tomorrow, please.
Okay, so it starts at 4 o'clock tomorrow. So if you could just be in the Zoom session for 3:50, just to make sure that you're here.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Cheryl, are you still there?
Yeah.
If just to cut people down time wise, your question is on page 26 on the
Yeah.
very last on cost method. On the second sentence, it says, since a pond doesn't really deteriorate and is more of a physical characteristic of land, depreciation does not apply. So that answers that
That does answer that question. Thank
quiz
you.
question. Yeah.
Just reading something, see ponds. To appropriately address the feature, blah, 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 blah. Secondly, affects the utility land parcel. Finally, consider, yeah. Yeah, that's where I got that one wrong. Perfect.
So I think it's a generalization, but then they say, but in the event of.
But in the
Yeah.
event, yeah.
And you're doing a comparison and all those kind of things, then you factor these in according to, if you were doing like, what if we fix up the pond and blah, 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 that
Yeah.
they're telling you how to calculate it. But in general, they don't depreciate.
Well, there we go. I should have read it more in depth.
I looked for it about 3 times. So I was like, I know it's there. I'll just find it for her.
Oh, I looked reports, that's really the only question I got stuck on that I looked for like so long. And then when I saw the numbers there, I think I probably just gave up. I was like, oh, that's probably it. It's the driveway. Screw it.
They just
Screw
hit it.
Yeah, screw it.
Okay, goodbye now.
Thanks.
I just wait another minute or so. Or if you're here, put your video on so I know you're there. All right, looks like most everybody's back. Okay. Let's pick up with chapter 4. Praising historic residences. Can I go through this a little quick? We're told not to spend that much time on this, but I guess the key things is making sure you know the differences in the wording and definition. We're preserving is to make sure you maintain it and repair it. Reconstruct, to recreate a historic building that's been damaged. Erect a new structure resembling the old using historical, archaeological, and architectural documents, and to repair to make usable again while preserving those portions or features that are historically significant, which is the most common approach for residential homes. I thought these, I kind of like these two definitions, remodel and renovate. Good things to have, especially when you're trying to tell a story in your appraisal report that the property was just remodeled versus the property was just totally renovated. So it's good to know the differences between the two things there, with remodel being, you're fixing it up to current times, where renovate is attempting to restore it to its historic appearance. Versus restore, which is to send it exactly the way that it was, which can be quite cost and very expensive. And then stabilize and just making sure it doesn't deteriorate any further while maintaining it. So good question. Are all old homes historic? Yes or no? And how does the property get a historic label? And these are all good ones here. Property is associated with significant events in history, significant persons. It has distinctive characteristics of a type, period, or a method of construction. Represents the work of a master or possesses high artistic values. And it has yielded and may have important information in prehistory or history. So this, you want to make sure you have this thing, memorized about the Canadian Register. on that. And let me see here. I have one other thing here. Everybody know what FPT stands for? It should be for federal, provincial, and territorial governments. So if you didn't know what FPT stood for. All right, styles. Like I said, I'm just going to go through this kind of briefly here. Basically, Victorians started from the early to mid 1800s to the early 1900s. You can always tell them they're named originally after Queen Victoria. They have a lot of peaks and points, and that's kind of like, and they always have big wraparound porches. Those are some of their main features on there. Go through some of these other ones on here. There's a lot of different ones. I'm sure you have them all by you. Gothic is the earliest. And it originated in England to the mid 18th century, and they wanted to bring back medieval forms. Had big influence here in North America. I don't see, I actually don't see many Gothic revivals in Chicago. Our city's been around for a long time. I've seen a few. You have to go to the neighborhoods that have the old historical homes, and most of them will be Italianate or Victorians, and then you may get one Gothic revival in there. Tudor Bethel style. These are pretty popular. You see these more. You'll see this style more with like ski lodges, older vintage hotels, golf course clubhouses, that type of stuff, than rather an individual Tudor Bethel style home, because most of them aren't that large. You'll see more Tudors, but not Tudor Bethel. Also called a mock Tudor. We have a lot of those up here in my neck of the woods. Quite a few Italianates as well, and you can distinguish Italianates from the underneath here from the gables. They typically will have the flat roof or the wider roof overhang coming out, and they usually have wood. I forget the woods decorative things. I forget what they're called. I'm a little rusty on my historical stuff. I haven't done one in a while. So it was introduced as a alternative to Gothic or Greek revival. Here's it. Emphatic eaves supported by corbels. That's it. Corbels. I couldn't think of that word. Low pitched roofs, and a wide projection and a tower. Yeah. They were more popular than Greek revival and superseded by the Queen Anne and the colonial revival. That's probably the most common we have by us now. American arts. We would call this would actually be called like a Dutch colonial almost. Mainly because of the way the pitch of the roof and this is on here. American arts, last couple of years of the 19th century to early 20th, handcraft wood, glass, metal, simple, elegant, clean lines, a rejection of Victorian styles. And this actually led into helped Frank Lloyd Wright and the prairie style of architecture. Brought in the breakfast nook around a modern family's daily life. Notable architects that became part of it was most notable Frank Lloyd Wright and his prairie style. This is the prairie style. You see, it's all from left to right, multiple levels, windows, pretty much offering fenestration all the way through and around into the rooms. And he always had the leaded glass windows in them. I've actually been in this place a number of times. I've been in like 3 Frank Lloyd Wright houses. They're okay, but once you've been through one, you've been through them all, and so I try not to go through them anymore because it's tend to be a little boring. Open horizontal floor plans, handcraftsman, simplicity and function, and better homes created better people, and the idea that less is more. Yep, that's it. That's why they're kind of boring walking through there. Spanish colonial revival. There's a couple suburbs by us who have some of these. They're usually just 1 story and stucco with tile roof. I didn't know that was after the Panama Canal opening. So, oh, okay, single level detached. 1915, 1931. Yeah. I'd probably say, yeah, probably closer to the 1930. And Mission Revival and Pueblo styles, plaster and stucco, low pitch clay tile, terracotta, small porches, most prevalent West Coast, Gulf Coast in Texas, and Florida. I saw quite, if you go to San Antonio has quite a few of these. Actually, downtown San Antonio, I swear you could walk through downtown San Antonio, and this is primarily what you're going to see. Yeah, I am going to have to agree. You know, most appraisers do consider it a specialized niche in appraising historic homes, but you need to know your subject matter, market reaction, and why people buy them. And National Register of Historic Places, and it's going to have all the information on the historic homes. And you have to be aware that when your subject is in one of these areas, you kind of need to make a couple extra phone calls and find out. Now, I'll tell you, like Oak Park in the neighboring community, River Forest, which is about 12 miles just west of Chicago. That's where Frank Lloyd Wright has a lot, you know, his main houses are over there, and his other architects, junior architects in River Forest. And they have a Oak Park River Forest Historical Society. So anytime you go to you start seeing or you get the smell of historic, odds are there's a historical society, and they will have the actual, most likely they'll have the actual blueprints of that home on file. They'll tell you who the architect was, when it was built, the type of materials. They'll usually be, and then the city building department will usually have a whole special file on because if they're a true historic home, they have to, a lot of restrictions on what can be renovated versus remodeled, and what has to come back and be an exact replica. And that's the challenge. I remember when I took my first historic class, and did one out in New York and New Jersey, and then one here in Chicago area. And the instructor was super knowledgeable. I think he like wrote the first historical appraising textbook, and Ed McNichol, and brilliant man. But what was interesting is you sit in the class, like you're sitting in this, and I'm kind of talking to you about historic homes, is you're like, oh, this is pretty cool. Yeah, I'm kind of interested in that. And then you get out And now you're waiting to get your first historic assignment. And then you get an assignment, and it's not just ordered as a regular appraisal. And you go out there and you see, hey, this could be potentially a historic home. Well, the problem is, doing a regular appraisal, you're getting your normal fee for a regular standard appraisal. But to do a true historical valuation on a property, there's a lot more entailed, a very comprehensive cost approach using a unit in place method, where you're actually replacing out all the components in that building, and it's quite time consuming. And so, just fictitiously speaking, if a normal appraisal fee is $500, on a 3,000 square foot, 3,000 foot 2-story home versus a 3,000 square foot historical valuation, you're probably looking at $2,500 to $4,000 to do that. And unfortunately, there's no AMC that's going to pay you that much money to do that appraisal, and nor do the banks want to pay that much money for it. It's more of a niche, a specialty market where, an estate or someone famous, or the museum wants something valued, or historical society, and then they'll fly in an expert usually to do that, unless you have the skill set. I tried it for a couple of years back in the early 90s, and no one would